Good morning, everyone. I'm Aparna Subramanian, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you today. I wear a couple of different hats in the community. I'm a co-chair for the CNCF End User SIG, and I'm also a member of the End User Technical Advisory Board. I'm Director of Production Engineering at Shopify as well.
Hi, I'm Sumedh Degaonkar. I'm a Production Engineering Manager at Shopify, where I lead teams working on the network, the compute, and the application platform within infrastructure.
Yeah, and Sumedh flew all the way from Seattle just to be here with us. Thank you so much, Sumedh. So in our end user SIG, this year especially, we've been talking about like how many of us have been rebuilding our AI, ML, GPU platforms like multiple times, and we've all learned a bunch. So I thought it was a really good topic to talk to all of you about. And our story is also pretty similar. Imagine spending months looking for a perfect tool, only to realize that you've been using that tool and you've been having that tool in your toolbox all along, and that's exactly what happened to us. And we've been looking for new and shiny AI native solutions for building our AI ML platform, but the answer really was something that we all know and love. Spoiler alert, it is Kubernetes. So first things first, let's break down what Shopify is all about. So you may recognize several of these brands. Shopify is the retail operating system that powers many of our favorite brands. And it's not just about these big brands. Shopify helps aspiring small businesses and entrepreneurs take an idea to a thriving, fully scalable business. So Shopify takes care of the tech and the platform so merchants can focus on what they do best, which is their business and their products. And before we move on to the AI ML stuff, let's look at some stats to understand the size and the scale of the platform that we're talking about. We support millions of merchants around the world, and of course our buyers are also around the world. And every 28 seconds, there's a new merchant who makes their first sale on this platform. And it's not just a new buyer, a whole new shop that's going live and making its first sale. And so far, we have made about $1 trillion worth of commerce on this platform. And that's a number that's pretty hard to comprehend. It's like a million of million. So all that's to say, it's like a lot of transactions. And the last nerd stats, speaking of transactions, we serve this last Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which is the peak shopping season of the year, we served 170 million requests per minute on average. And at our peak, we were at about 280 million per minute transactions. And our fleet sits over 2.4 million cores of CPU. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because there are solutions that work reasonably well, but only very few solutions work at this scale. So, and Shopify's infrastructure is, of course, global. And every dot that you see here in this diagram is a piece of our platform. We have point of presence around the world, and our routing infrastructure gets the requests from buyers all around the world and routes it optimally to the closest app server and the database server that has the data for that particular store. And behind all of this is a technology that we all know and love. Our entire platform uses Kubernetes extensively, and not just for stateless workloads, but also stateful workloads. And not just Kubernetes. We use many of the technologies from the ecosystem. We use Cilium, Core DNS, Envoy as part of our networking platform. Vitess is extensively used in our database platform. We use OpenTelemetry, Thanos, Prometheus, FluentBit in our observability platform. And we use KDA as part of our auto-scaling solution.
Yeah, and at Shopify, AI is indeed ubiquitous. For example, Sidekick is our AI assistant that helps our merchants make the best use of the entire platform by doing things like creating product generation, like the setting up of new products, setting up discount codes, enabling SEO, setting ad spend, and all of these things are done for our merchant by their AI assistant. Another example is taxonomy, which actually powers intelligent search to help end users find products on the merchant site. And behind all these nice-looking AI features, there is a ton of semantic modeling, model fine-tuning, and in general, algorithms running at massive scale. For example, product search uses embeddings, which is basically a vector representation of the relationship between products. It's like you can look at a product and identify what it is, but computers can't, and that's how we make it so that computers can correlate the spatial representation and relationship between these products. This diagram on your right is a representation of books, genre of categories, and 2 points on that graph that are close by would probably be books of the same genre, versus 2 points that are farther apart are probably completely different genres of books. On the left-hand side is a more traditional ML model that detects a very specific type of credit card fraud. But we use ML ops approach with that to fully automate the retraining, eval, and deployment of the new models versions. But behind all of these models and workflows, there is, of course, the GPU infrastructure that powers them. And that's basically where our teams come into the picture. The hardest problem of this whole process is the whole iteration of training, fine-tuning, and then inferencing. Once you're actually at the inferencing or serving phase, it's actually easier to size and shape the compute that you need. Just getting to the point of inferencing is the hardest part that we wanted to make it easier for our users of the ML platform.
Yeah, and keep in mind that GPUs are still very scarce, right? And if your model requires a specialized GPU, such as a one that has like multiple NICs using multiple hosts, they are even more scarce. And it's also a very costly resource. So speaking in terms of like the core requirements, we want to reserve just the right amount. We don't want to over-reserve, because otherwise they're just going to be sitting around unutilized or underutilized. And then we also need the ability to burst over to capacity that uses like spot instances, so that we are able to just get this capacity just in time and release it if we don't need it. And providing access to these GPU instances to all the different teams in a fair manner is also super important, because we don't want developers to be sitting around waiting for GPU instances. We want them to be as productive as possible. And then we have these very specific requirements, such as like in-place upgrades, right? Because obviously, because GPU instances are very scarce, you can't quite do a blue-green kind of upgrade, because you don't have so many GPUs to set up a whole new node pool and do the upgrade. So those were the core requirements. And we looked at many AI native, new shiny vendor solutions, but they could only give us one or few of those requirements. I mean, some gave us the ability for developers to quickly access these GPU instances, but then they were not as utilized. And some other solutions gave us the utilization, but sacrificed developer productivity. Not going to throw shade on those vendor solutions, right? The big point here is Kubernetes provides all of this out of the box, like the ability to scale to zero, the ability to do show back labels. All of these are just right there in the platform that we already had. And the real savior was really Q, the project that supports excellent workflow for ML batch workloads.
Yeah, so how did we end up building out this platform? Well, at a very high level, there's an easy-to-use front end that users of this AI/ML platform interact with for job submission, while cluster admins or the infra team can define the queues, the priorities, and the policies behind the whole framework itself. ML engineers can make use of SkyPilot or any tooling of their choice to submit jobs to the Queue API itself. But under the hood, as Aparna said, Kubernetes is what powers the AI ML platform itself. And Kubernetes is basically extendable. Q has been an excellent way to extend the whole Kubernetes platform. We get multi-tenancy via resource sharing. We get waste reduction via idle pod detection and deletion. We get lightning fast pod boot up speeds with the help of secondary boot disk. We get image streaming that allows us to boot up large AI model-based workloads fast enough. We discussed some of our challenges, some of our goals, and guiding principles. But there are some takeaways for you all, right? Like, if any of you are on a journey similar to ours on their way to building out an AI platform, what are some of the things that we learned that might help you? So the first challenge that maybe all of us will face at some point is the whole buy versus build challenge, build versus buy challenge. And what I mean by that is, on the one hand, there's how much work is your company willing to put in to build and get the features you want, versus how much time can you wait on your vendor's solutions to get what you want, right? And that's basically a crux of a bit of tensions there. Well, our approach here was to carefully list our must-have features and work very closely with our vendors to come up with timelines and see what's feasible and make our own risk assessment. And our simple advice here would be to get started with building only the MVP, even if it is rough around the edges, because chances are high that you'll like a hybrid solution with partly built in-house and partly vendor source. Another completely different angle to this the set of challenges is the developer experience, both for the users of the platform and for the maintainers and builders of the platform, right? So the Kubernetes operational skills come naturally to people like many of you sitting here who are platform developers and have operational experience and have been practitioners of Kubernetes. But data and ML engineers who have not used Kubernetes at the same extent might find that daunting, right? So we needed to find the right abstraction for them to interact with your platform. In our case, SkyPilot and Rocket ML notebooks was the right fit. For you, it could be something else, but you need to be very explicit and careful about choosing the amount of Kubernetes you want to expose to non-Kubernetes users. And for the ML team itself, there's today a big mix of GPUs and TPUs and very varying regional availabilities. And if you try to get that boiled down to Terraform and node pool configurations with whatever tooling you use, it's very likely that you'll end up with a very complex spaghetti of configuration. And our advice here is to see if you can work with your vendors to see if there's certain features that are new in Kubernetes that may make this useful. For example, we made a use of custom compute classes, and that really simplified our node pool configurations for us. So in summary, at Shopify, our Kubernetes journey started in 2016 to the point where we are almost all on Shopify for our main core commerce OS. When we began to build out our ML infra, we took our time to evaluate carefully all the vendor options that were available, but then we realized that our old school platform saved the day for modern GenAI workloads as well. So if you are an experienced Kubernetes practitioner, we highly recommend you double down on your strengths and use your familiar tools and the growing ecosystem for your GenAI and ML workloads as well.
And I would like to take this opportunity to do a plug for our CNCF end user sake. It's a really great community of really tight-knit. It's a really tight-knit community of Kubernetes practitioners. So we use cloud-native technologies. We don't sell cloud-native technologies. We meet every other Thursday. And new in 2025, we are going to start a new meeting that's friendly to India time zone. So if you'd like to become an end-user member, please reach out to the CNCF. And please come and talk to us about the end user SIG or AI ML things, and or to learn what it's like to work for a fully remote company like Shopify. Shopify is hiring in India. We are hiring for both platform development and platform operations roles. Here's a QR code. Feel free to check it out. You can find a bunch of us with these white Shopify t-shirts, so we are easy to find. Please come and say hi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.